What's going on, everyone? So this is the entire complete process for how I analyze my trading week, how I go about trading on a daily basis. I'm literally going to break it down all right here in this video from scratch. All I ask is that you like the video, just hit the like button. That's literally it. And by the way, I do call most of these trades for free in my Telegram channel right here. It's got like 27,000 members. If you want free access to this, where you can literally just follow my trades daily, you can copy them if you want. Just click the link in the description of this video, do my free training, and after you do that free training, you will get a link to join that Telegram channel for free. You can watch me trade live every week. So without further ado, and as long as you've clicked the like button, let's get started. So I'm here on GBP USD. A lot of GBP pairs have been pretty bullish for the past year. GBP USD, is one of them. It's just in a nice uptrend. I don't see it ending anytime soon. Of course, if price starts breaking a bunch of structures and starts trending lower and making lower lows, then eventually I'll be looking for sells. But for the time being, it still looks pretty bullish. So that's what I'm looking for. So going from the 4-hour down to the 1-hour chart to try to find in some more levels here. GBP USD has recently, we broke this previous resistance here, tried to find support like 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It just could not crack the highs last week, could not get above the previous resistance level around 1.37. So instead, price came back down to this level, failed to bounce as support, and then has gone below it, trying to search for liquidity, trying to just find anyone else willing to buy below it. An area that I might like to buy that looks pretty relevant is this support level right here. So we could sort of widen it up and say that it could be this zone right here. I like to typically trade with more clearly defined zones. So a zone that I would use might be something like this right here. Price can get back into this area and start bouncing. So this is what I'm going to be looking for. There might be a little bit of trend line confluence as well. If price does come back to that zone, it could be something like this trend line here could get tested. There could also be a steeper one that could come up from this low to the next low, and this one could get tested. So we could see, multiple confirmations in here. This could also be maybe like a 61.8 fib. If it pulls back to this zone, it'll be 61.8. So there's multiple things that could occur right here. I'm just going to be waiting on a pullback a little bit more and then look for buying opportunities as price starts to trickle into an uptrend. Depending on where I get an entry, like, let's say that it comes to here and starts bouncing, I'll try to find an entry somewhere around here. I'll try to get a stop just below the zone, just below wherever the wicks are getting formed at. And then the trade will look something like this. The target would be a higher high. And so I would likely scale out some profits here at these previous highs. So that will be around a 1 to 7, maybe scale out half the position, assuming I get a buy somewhere in here and something sets up. And then I'll just like to take more profits at a new high, probably like at the top of the channel that's been forming. So something like this. So the final risk reward could be maybe like a 1 to 10, 1 to 11, something like that. So we'll see what happens with GBP USD this week. I'm not going to get too biased on looking for a precise entry right now. I'm just going to wait until we get some clear market structure set up. But I'm personally thinking just to pull back here. And then if price finds rejection here, then I'm going to look to buy. If this doesn't occur, price could go to any one of these levels below it. I'll just wait for an area where price starts finding support. I'll try to get into a buy. I'll manage the position if it goes into profit, and I'll just try to shoot for the stars, a higher high on the daily and 4-hour structure. So yeah, it's just a matter of finding an entry. Same thing on GBP JPY. Price has been in an uptrend, for quite some time, literally since the COVID crash back in March of 2020. Price has been in like a rangy uptrend, but nonetheless still an uptrend. We have yet to revisit this previous high, which was printed back here in September of 2020. I'm just thinking price might come to that daily high right there and try to find some resistance. If you see, I actually had an alert here called Take Some Profits. This is when I was in this GBP JPY trade last week that I called in Telegram. It went into a 1 to 20 risk reward profit from where I called it at. Let me rename this here. GJ is at an extreme high. Because if I do get into buys, I am going to want to peel out some profits right there. But if we go to lower time frames, looking for buys, I found this buy last week here. It was just a break and retest of this resistance level. I just took an entry at the zone after some rejection with the stop loss just under the zone. This one ended up going into some huge profit. I scaled out positions here, and then I also scaled out my final positions, one right here and then one right below this level. So this one ended up being, it was a 1 to 20 risk reward, but I actually got about 17 units of profit out of it. So it was a very nice trade. And I'm still looking for longs. What ended up happening on GJ after I got out is it came down here, sort of retested a support zone. And then we had GJ come up here and we had a series of tests. We had a series of tries for buyers to break past this resistance here, around 142.2. So price was finding resistance here the first time, second time rejection, third time, or you could call this a fourth or fifth time, sixth time. We've just tried a bunch of tries. Buyers were buying all the dips trying to go up, and then price just could not break past this resistance zone. So it came back here to search for liquidity. It came back to these previous lows. We found some temporary buying sensitivity right here whenever it first came. But ultimately, that was short-lived here on the 15-minute, literally just one bullish candle. And then sellers just swarmed back in. And price has since cracked below this support level here, trying to find more liquidity, trying to find more people willing to buy at some lower prices down here. So if we actually go to the 4-hour and daily, this is actually a break and retest of a resistance zone turning into some potential support here on the daily and H4 chart. On the daily, it looks just as clear. It's a break and retest. I'm still looking for buys on GBP/JPY. I don't think the trend is likely to end anytime soon. Of course, this could all change if price just crashes significantly lower. But for the time being, I'm still looking for buys. We have price sort of coming and interacting with the trend line here as well. It looks like it actually broke it, retested it, and rejected it. But again, I'm still looking for buys. The trend is still up. So there's that. Price has also pulled back about 60% of the previous impulse upwards. If you're looking at Fibonacci, it's pulled back to 61.8 and started to reject. I think what I would like a little bit more, because since price has dipped back into this resistance zone, sort of broken below and testing as resistance, we could see like a sell-off like this happen. But what I think is a little bit more likely, since we're in such a strong trend, is another push up. If price does start to sell off from here, it could just drop all the way to like the daily uptrend line. It has significant room to fall like a lot lower if this does happen. And that could happen this week, right? We just never know. I just think it's a little bit safer to look for buys as opposed to sells right now, just because of how strong the uptrends are on GU and GJ. So what I'm personally going to be looking for is, this is the 1 hour. If we go into the minute 15, we can get kind of a little more zoomed in view of this zone right here. It's not that clear, so I doubt I would be using this to trade. But essentially, you would just be waiting for like a nice resistance area to form, clearly defined, some equal highs, wait for a price push past it, and then a retest along with some rejection. As long as you see some like H1 rejection at the zone on the retest, then I think that will be fine to start looking for some buys going up. So then a buy could be taken right there, stop loss directly under the zone. First target somewhere around the previous highs. This would yield maybe like a 1-9, maybe like a 1-7 risk reward ratio. And then final profits for me, at least, would be at this previous daily high. That would be maybe like a 1-10, 1-11 risk reward if something like this scenario sets up. Some of the trades you get even better ones. This one I was able to get like literally a 6 pip stop last week on this. This doesn't happen all the time, but in the case of this, the level was just so clearly defined. Like if we just go and really like pinpoint this level, price broke above the highs, dipped back below it, found some resistance, but then broke above and tested. So I was using this little break and retest right here on the minute 5, minute 15. I was using that as the level, and that's why it has such a small stop loss just below the zone. It's like you're going in with the logic like, hey, it's either going to bounce right there or it's not. So sometimes you'll be able to get good risk rewards like that are just stupid, like 1-20, 1-30, 1-40. But that's not the case usually. Usually risk rewards are maybe like 1-10, 1-15, which is still amazing profits. It's still fine. So that's what I'm going to be looking for GJ on this week. I would cover the other GBP pairs, but I'm not a fan of what's going on in the other pairs right now. I don't think anything is as clear as these two GBP pairs. So I'll go ahead and save you the confusion, and I'm not going to be looking at any of these GBP pairs. I'm going to go to Euro USD now. So Euro USD has been in a nice uptrend for quite some time. And what I'm getting a little bit more excited about is the fact that EU has been giving like a really big pullback, a really strong discount. Now, this could be the beginning of a downtrend. We never know, but so could all of this stuff that's happened here in the past, right? We had like this push downwards right here. We also had price start going sideways, and then we had this push downwards here, had a second push downwards, and then price started going up. While this could be the beginning of a potential downtrend, I'm not sold on this being a downtrend quite yet. I think it's more likely to think that price is going to try to be like pushing up from here. I've had some nice buy trades on Euro USD that have taken place. This one right here was like a 1 to 9 risk reward ratio. This one right here was about a 1 to 3 that I won, and this one right here was huge. It was a 1 to 35 risk reward ratio back in December, like right before everything. It was a break and retest of this zone. So I'm thinking that price is still going to try to go up. we tried so hard last week. EU ranged right here at these previous lows right here, had a little run up. We came back and retested where I was looking for buys, but we found no bullish rejection on the retest of this zone. Price just kind of like dipped back into it. It just crashed back into it, found some resistance and kept going down. So then after price went and started finding support around these lows, we had price dip below it, kind of like spring upwards. Then we came back and I was looking for a retest right there for buys. There was not enough convincing strong bullish H1 price action, just a few tiny bullish wicks, but nothing like this in here with a huge wick followed by huge bullish candles. There was not enough rejection right there, so I didn't take a trade there, and then prices ended up just breaking below these levels. We've now since fished below this previous low in an attempt to find any more liquidity that we can to gather some steam for buy orders. What I think is likely to happen, there is a zone right here. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll mark this up right here. There is a zone right here that price is currently trading at. I think, right here, price might be able to find some momentum to push upwards. If I adjust this even lower, this is a zone right here we could look to trade at. To be honest, since price has already tested this zone, 1, 2, 3 times right here, I don't know how likely it is that price will react right here. Personally, what I could see happening is I could see like a strong stop hunt or liquidity spike just somewhere below this area, somewhere below the lows, because we have this low right here and we also have this low right here. So any people who are in buys in that area still holding their positions, unless they've closed them or gotten stopped out already, you might see like a liquidity spike below that area to flush out those orders before price finds the momentum to go back up. I don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, price could still it could literally just start bouncing right here as support. And if it starts bouncing as support here and it breaks the previous highs and comes and tests, then I'll be looking for buys in here. A cool part about whenever a pair like Euro USD, it's been an uptrend forever. A cool part about whenever it pulls back really strongly like it does right now is that it wipes out a lot of people who have been holding longs. Like say you got into a buy, like somewhere in here, and you've got your stop below and you've got like your target swip here. Whenever price comes back, a lot of people will have break-even stops, and that those break-even stops, buys being converted to sells, will further fuel the sell-off. And it sucks if you're in a buy trade and you come and get stopped out, or you get pinned at break-even. It sucks if you're in that case. But a cool instance for people who are opportunistic and waiting on the sidelines to enter is that these massive pullbacks create good upside opportunities, because even if price just pulls up to this previous high right here, let's just say that, in the minute 15, we find an entry. Let's say there's like a minute 15 zone that gets created in here, and then price cracks above this zone, comes and retests and starts to bounce. So your entry would be based off this zone right here. It'd be the H4 level bouncing, then it'll break above recent highs, come and retest and bounce. Let's say you get an entry on like a break and retest right there with the stop just below the zone, just below the previous wick or low that gets printed. And then let's say your first target is up here at the previous high. Your first target's a 1 to 18, and then assuming you hold, maybe you take half the profits right there, maybe 60-75% of them, and then you continue holding the rest to a higher high. On the H4 and daily, if Euro USD is going to continue upwards, chances are it's probably going to make a higher high. You can get, final risk reward ratios that are just insane, like 1 to 20, 1 to 30. This one will be about a 1 to 30, 1 to 40, 1 to 50 in some cases. That's how this trade turned out right here this last year in December. It just turned out really nicely over the course of a few days. A 1 to 35 risk reward. I made about 20 units of gain on this trade because I closed partial profits and then let the rest run. But still, you can get great units of gain. This is something similar I'm going to be looking to happen on Euro USD. So again, I'm sort of more bullish on Euro USD just because it's been in an uptrend forever. It's more likely it'll continue up versus just completely change trends now. And if it does change trends and starts going down, then I'll just start looking for sells at some time in the future. For right now, I'm still looking at buys for Euro USD, and that's the game I'm going to play. So for Euro AUD, this is another good one I'm looking for. I'm looking for sells on Euro AUD right now. I had this marked up on Friday. I didn't take a trade because it was right during the session interchange, or it was literally right at market close on Friday. But overall, Euro AUD has been in a nice downtrend for quite some time. We went into kind of a rangy market for a couple months throughout 2020, but then we tried to crack above previous highs right in here. Came back, tested those highs, failed to bounce, and came back down. I took buys in through this area, and I got stopped out twice on trades in here back in October. So the buys didn't work out. Price has since come back down, failed to find enough buying spikes to go up, and it has since broke this extreme like daily support area right here. It just flushed through it and continued down. So if we look at the big picture, 4-hour daily, we've had, a downtrend form, lower highs, lower lows. We had price kind of range and accumulate sideways, and then we just had another break below. So I'm a little bit more bearish than I am bullish on this pair right now. Contrary to Euro USD, I just think it's going to keep going down. If you've been looking for sells at all, since pretty much like October, like end of October, you've just got to been some good trades you could have profited on. So that's what I'm going to continue doing for the time being. Euro AUD has just been ignoring previous daily lows for the past 3 months. So I'm not interested in looking at buys quite yet. But sells do look like it to be a good idea for the time being. Of course, things could change, but for the time being, it looks like sells will be fine. So one thing that I did mark up here is I thought price was going to let me just reconstruct all this. I thought that price was going to find some resistance at this area just because it was like a previous support resistance level. So price had found some support, broke below, came back up to test as resistance, had a huge spike above the zone, and then it falls right back into it. So typically this is something that I cover in the new course update when we're talking about springs and a little bit of supply demand wick off ideology, but it's essentially just where price doesn't have the momentum to kick off downwards from a zone or upwards from a zone. So it spikes way into the zone to try to grab stop orders and limit orders and just, fill people's orders to create liquidity in the market and come down. That will typically happen if there's just, for whatever reason, not enough people selling at a particular zone to cause a price move down. And you'll see this happen over and over. You'll see a break and retest right here. Price will try to find some resistance, go down from there. Half the time it'll go and you'll make good profits, but the other half the time it'll come up and pin you out at break even. Then it will do some stuff like this where it goes up, tries to grab liquidity, finds some sell orders, comes up for a second test of the zone, finds sell orders, and it starts going sideways, can't bounce, can't get back above, and then it finally breaks below and retests. And then trades like these, every now and then you'll get a trade that just plays right, and then it never comes back to test your entry or screw around with you. And these are the trades that end up being really good. So that's kind of what's going on right here. We have price, broke these recent lows. It's come up. It's retested really hard. Some strong 1 hour rejection. What I'm looking at is on the minute 15, assuming spreads calm down at the beginning of the session today when it opens. What I'm doing is I've sort of pinpointed this zone a little bit tinier right here. We do have to exclude this previous low just because it's not encapsulated within price action right here. But we have support here on the minute 15, support here. This is more an H4 zone, but we're just looking at it on the minute 15. Prices broke below, found some initial resistance, failed to take off downwards. Second resistance right there, but then pushed back above really strongly, came up, tested, made a new high, but failed to sustain and just plummeted back below this area. I think this is a really good sign that this level is going to hold as resistance, and now price is back at the zone again. So, if you go down here even to the minute 5 chart, you can see it even more pinpointed. You can see there's some previous highs right there. You can see the previous lows or whatever. Let me delete this for a second so you can see. You see how precise this zone is? Let's say price continues to reject this zone over and over at market open today, and it continues to be right here and the spread gets really small. You can find an entry maybe right here at the zone after some rejection. Stop loss just right above the zone, right above the wick or whatever. And then that will be your stop loss. But then your target can still be here on an H4, the previous low. That will be a 1 to 8 for trimming partial profits. And then you could just move stops to break even at that point and target a lower low, which could be maybe a 1 to 12, 1 to 15, something like that. So that's sort of my plan for Euro AUD. So keep in mind, we've got this bigger H4 zone right in here that price has been rejecting at. It's broken below, it's retested. But then also with the logic that on the lower time frames, we have a lower time frame, very clear level getting formed, minute 15 and minute 5, this one right here. So that's what I'm going to be looking for some sells on Euro AUD this week to start. If this doesn't work out, a price either stops out or pins me at break even or just breaks above the zone and never presents an entry, then yeah, I'll just, I'll kind of wait, see what happens. Maybe price might have to go further to get more liquidity and then starts coming back down. But overall, I am fixated on sells for Euro AUD this week. That's it. The other Euro pairs, I don't really see anything that I personally like. If you'd like to trade something, feel free. But for these pairs, if I do find entries and stuff, I'll share all the analysis and call them live in Telegram. So that way you can kind of see the logic behind them. You can copy the trades if you like after doing your own analysis, things like that. So now we have the AUD pairs. So AUD USD, I got stopped 3 times last week. These were my only stop outs. I had 6 trades last week. I had 3 stop outs, which were these. I had 2 break evens, one on USD CHF, one on AUD JPY, and then I had 1 huge winner on GJ, which was like a total of, like a 1 to 17 units of profit is how much I closed, and a 1 to 20 risk reward. So that one just, even though my win rate was like 16% for the whole week, or whatever it is, like 1 out of 6 trades, the profit factor was still huge. So I'm perfectly fine with last week. But that being said, here I got stopped 3 times on AU looking for buys last week. I was looking for buys up here again, but there wasn't any rejection on the retest. There was just not enough like spiking, and then an H1 bearish candle closure. So this break and retest, I didn't take that. Price ended up coming down here, flashing below the lows in a desperate attempt to find some more liquidity. I personally, since like price has had all the opportunities to try to bounce in this zone already, and we could not make new highs, I personally see like these lows being wiped out. I see that low getting taken out, and I see these lows getting taken out. So what I'm going to be waiting for is AUD USD to crash below these areas and start to and like break those areas. And then if that happens, I'll look for some structure to get created to start scaling back into uptrend buys. Now, why am I so fixated on buys for AUD USD? If you zoom out on the H4, on the H1, on the H4, on the daily, no matter which way you spin it, since literally March of last year, it's been about 9 months now, this pair has just been in a really tough uptrend. I mean, anytime you've tried to sell during this pair, you might have gotten a little bit of profit on trades like these, but in most cases, you would have either taken a lot of break-evens or a lot of stop-outs. I just think it's more likely and more logical to think that this trend will continue versus thinking that it will end. It's ignored all sorts of daily highs, and it continues to ignore daily extreme highs and continues to press up. I think it's going to continue up, but that's not to say it will happen immediately. It seems more likely to think a push below these lows might happen. If it doesn't happen and price starts to just form some uptrend structure and go up, then I'll just look for buys during breaks and retests along these zones to go up. Maybe I'll be able to get back some profits on AUD USD with these good risk rewards and see if they go. But yeah, so that's AUD USD. AUD JPY, the same case happened. I got into this trade right here, and stops were taken out at break even. So I didn't lose any money on this trade, but it did hit break even. I didn't take any partial profits. I was waiting for price to come to this previous high. That would have been like 1 to 3 risk reward, or what would it have been? It would have been like a 1 to 4 risk reward. So I'd have been able to close some profits there and hold the rest to a higher high, which would have been a little bit more units of profit. Didn't happen. Price just snapped back down, hit the entry. I shared this, AUD JPY hit the break-even stop last night. How unfortunate and sad and depressing. And then this was that GJ trade that had won. So with AUD JPY, I said something interesting. I said something like the fact that it wasn't able to go where it was going last week, the fact that it wasn't able to bounce at the zones, I said it was more likely to think that price for AUD JPY was going to go down and like wipe out the previous lows. And so that's what ended up happening is price, I said right here, AJ price will likely search for liquidity below the previous low since none of these levels could fuel enough price momentum for a further push up. We'll see what the structures say. We'll see what gets created. Still a big uptrend, not the proper time to buy. So this was on January 13th. I shared this and I said, I think AUD JPY, the fact that it wasn't able to go up right here and make a new high, and now it's sort of cracked out a trend and making lower lows, I said it's probably going to go and try to like knock out that previous low at 80.0. And that's what ended up happening. Price ended up just like fishing below this previous low, ended up wiping it out, and it came all the way to the next H4 previous resistance zone, tested it as support and found some nice rejection. So for AUDJPY, contrary to AUD/USD, I'm going to start looking for buys immediately during the beginning of the session. I'm going to take out a few of these levels here just to kind of clean things up. These are levels that could still interact with price. Take that out. Yeah, I won't use that one. This one looks to be a little bit more important. We'll have to see what happens. So I'm already looking for buys on the 1 hour and 4 hour and AUDJPY. Price looks like it's in an uptrend. It looks like it's had some time to accumulate and pull back a little bit. So I think it might be going up from here. It'll just depend on what structure does. Obviously, this could all sell off immediately at the market open. That could totally happen. I think what would be a nice area to look for entries at would be like this 1 hour zone right here. Price tried to find some spikes right here last week. I got an entry on this during a break and retest going up. This one was break even, met the previous highs, sold off hard. And now we've got a little bit more liquidity because price has had a nice pullback to like its daily level and this previous low right here. There's just a couple things pointing that AUD JPY might be continuing up. If we're keeping things really simple, it may be bouncing right now. I don't know how strong this level is though, so I'm not sure I would trade off this one. I might. It just depends on what happens at market open. And obviously whatever I do, I'll just share it in Telegram live so that way you can see it happen live. But I think what might be nicer is to let it kind of like bounce up to here, maybe form some resistance, channel up, break above, and then come and retest. And then if it retests right here, I think I'm going to look for a trade right in here. Again, this zone could be okay to look at because it's a previous low. Price rejected. It's back above. It's testing on the minute 15. It looks a little bit more clear. Yeah, it looks like it's more clearly defined. I may try to enter like partial positions here, maybe like, a little bit lower position size because that would present a good risk reward ratio. But I think a really good situation would be to like buy during like maybe like a break and retest up in here, wait for some rejection, entry with a stop below. First targets would be around here, around a 1 to 6 risk reward, and then final targets would be a little bit higher. Just a higher high. You don't have to do anything specific, like just a higher high. If you go to the daily chart on the 4 hour charts, like a higher, like, yeah, I could see, in the 4 hour, if it makes a higher high, it might go somewhere up there. So just targeting a higher high, be like maybe like a 1 to 15 risk reward. After trimming out partial profits, you may actually bring home maybe like 10 units of profit with a 1 to 15 risk reward ratio. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Anything could happen. This is this setup I'll be looking for, just some buys as price trickles up. I don't see anything else in the other AUD pairs right now. You're free to trade them, but I don't see anything, so I will not be trading them. New Zealand dollar pairs. I really thought price was going to move up last week. We had price accumulating at some support here within this like big overall uptrend, on the 1 hour H4. It's almost the same charts as AUD pairs. It's just been going up like for almost a year now. So we found some support here. Price couldn't crack the highs. We fished below the support level, tried to find some liquidity, and then go up. And I shared that this was likely going to happen. In here, so this was New Zealand dollar CHF on the 2 hours. So let me go to the 2 hour and we'll go and look back and see what happened. But if you see, I shared this right here. Let's see. Prices have tried to bounce the supports over and over without having a break of the recent highs. It likely means price will break this level and head lower to search for more liquidity before the moves upwards again. Or it could just sell off like crazy. So this was January 13th. So this was like last week when price was right here. I had this little purple zone right here that I thought price might pin below it just to grab stops and search for liquidity below the support, just because it tried like 4 times to bounce and it just wasn't working. So that's what ended up happening. We had price come into that little, my oval thing was like right there or whatever. So I ended up finding some liquidity, breaking back into the zone, testing and bouncing. I was waiting on a buy up in here. We had price sort of break the zone. I don't like it when it's like a weak breakout, when it's just like a weak break barely above and retest, because sometimes that'll mean that it's just like rejecting the zone as resistance, depending on where you draw it. So I don't like seeing a weak breakout. I want to see price go up, make a clear higher high, and then pull all the way back to the zone, like maybe a 50% or more retracement prior to entering. I just think those work better. Plus, it's a lot more clear. Price tried, to barely crack above this zone and test, but it just didn't find enough steam. We had one 1 hour or 1 2 hour rejection candle, and on the 1 hour, it was still just a 1 hour rejection candle. And then price tried to go up, it just failed, plummeted back in, and then it went and wiped out this previous low. Anytime now, this thing looks good for buys. Obviously, we could see a big sell-off. Anything could happen, right? But I think it's more likely to think that this pair will continue upwards long term. It could sell off to like, a lot lower and come find some support maybe at these previous lows. But I just think it's going to be a safer idea to look for buys, in the coming future, unless just a huge trend shifts over and changes. I don't see a clear support level where this thing should be bouncing anytime soon. We do have, this zone right here, but that looks like more of a minor zone. If we're going out to the H4 in the daily chart where the main structures are created, there's this right here. And this looks like an area that looks like convincing. Like if price were to come, hit this level and then start to bounce. You know, you already know we're in an uptrend, daily 4-hour uptrend. Price bounces, maybe accumulates for a while, then breaks and retests its recent highs. You could try to find an entry down here on like the 1 hour, the minute 15, you know, once it makes new highs. And you could trade something like this. And then in this case, you could target, you know, previous highs, your initial target. And then the next target could be like the final targets of higher highs. This would be like a 1 to 20, you know, maybe like a 1 to 15, depending on what you get. So yeah, this would be a good trade as far as risk reward ratio. And if that doesn't set up, I mean, we've got another zone down in here. It really just depends on what happens. But yeah, I'm going to be looking for buys this week. You know, if I do take buys and it continues down, I'll likely take a couple break evens or maybe a stop out or two. We'll see what happens. New Zealand dollar JPY is almost the same analysis. I'm not going to bother going into a ton of detail just because the same exact thing happened. We had liquidity spike, you know, below the zone. Same thing on New Zealand dollar CHF. Price came up to the previous highs, tried to get past, failed, didn't break above. So this setup that I was waiting to happen didn't really happen. So, you know, it's no longer valid. And instead, price came and broke below the support level, knocked out the previous lows, and it's trickled all the way back to this previous zone in here. And we even had a fish for liquidity, like a spike way far past that zone. Price could be just testing this zone right here and continuing up. I think it would be a little bit aggressive to just try to buy right now in the face of like a strong, like lower term downtrend. I think a couple more like rejection wicks in the 1 hour, maybe like 12 to 24 hours of rejection at this zone. I think that might be a little bit better. Unless you just want to be really high risk and try to enter there. Your stop can go just below this zone, which, you know, the previous lows are, you know, pretty much right here. Like this is it. And then, yeah, price may be able to go up right here. Initial targets, maybe those previous highs. I'll take out this zone and then I'll widen this one out just a little bit. So there's this zone right here. So initial targets could be right there. This might give you like a 1 to 7 maybe. Yeah, maybe like a 1 to 7. Next profit targets could be a 1 to 11 at that previous high, if this thing does start continuing up from here this coming week. And then final targets could be just any higher high on the chart, which would be like a 1 to 16. So with a 1 to 16, scaling out partial profits along the way, you might be able to peel out maybe 10 units of reward out of this trade. So that would be really good. On the H4, I mean, just look at the chart. If it's going to go and make a higher high, it's probably going to do it at some point. We're at this like daily break and retest situation right here. But then again, price has already tried to bounce here once. We made a higher high, but then we didn't sustain, and now we're back. There might not be enough orders sitting at this level. We might see price spike below. Either way, I'm going to be looking for breaks and retests for buys on New Zealand dollar JPY this week. Same thing on New Zealand dollar USD. Price has been in a strong uptrend, you know, for almost a year. Same situation. I'm looking for buys. The same analysis as New Zealand dollar JPY and New Zealand dollar CHF. Not any time right now though, because price just cracked these lows. I don't see another area where we might react at. So I'm just gonna sit on the sidelines and wait until something more clear happens for New Zealand dollar USD. So there's that. I had a nice trade over here back late December. It was a 1 to 21, I think. What was this? It was a 1 to 21. So this was good. I closed partial profits right here. So this one I got maybe like 15 units of profit out of it. But the rest ended up coming and going after the stop was put to break even and everything. This was nice. Same logic. Price was in an uptrend, came to a big support level, started to bounce, and then I just found an entry on a lower time frame. I think it was the minute 5 whenever I got this trade. It was a minute 5 break and retest. Yeah, so you can like barely see it. Like, let's go all the way back. Broke above recent highs right there, came up, retested, started to reject. After it rejected, I entered, stopped below, target way up there. So sometimes you'll get setups like these that work out to be really good risk rewards, kind of like GJ this past week that I just showed at the beginning of this video. Those works really well scaling in on lower time frames. All right, so for whatever weird reason, my everything froze up after this New Zealand dollar USD stuff right here. So I'm just going to pick up from where I left off right here, and then I'm going to go down to these last few trades that I'm looking at. So USD CHF, we've been in a downtrend for a long time, so I'm looking for a downtrend sell. Price is also at an H4 resistance level. I am kind of worried that price is not going to respect this level because we've tried like a bazillion times to test it, and price has not really sustained like the continuation of the downtrend. So what I think is a little bit more likely happening in the near future I think we might see like a liquidity spike above this level, followed by a retest, and then price might continue upwards. If that doesn't happen, this is what I'm going to be looking for, is if price spikes above this level, grabs liquidity, grabs stop losses and everything, as long as it comes back down below the level, comes up and starts retesting and bouncing, then I'll just start looking for breaks and retests for sells as price continues like within its downtrend. And then a price, if I can find an entry at any one of the levels that get created to target like lower lows, then I'll look to enter. So like, price breaks a recent structure right here and I can get a break and retest here, that might work. If price tries to go lower and then I don't get an entry up at the top, but then we find like a new level we could enter at, then I'm just going to look to like, take a trade like that, like something like right here. And then my initial profits will be at the previous low, and then final targets will be at a lower low. So this is what I'm going to wait for this coming week. Last week, I took this trade. I already did a recap on this, but I got pinned at break even on this one. So I didn't lose money, but didn't make any money on this one. I closed it actually in some small profit, but still it was pretty much a break even trade. Good thing too, because price ended up just continuing up, just banging into this resistance area. So I'm going to kind of wait for sells on these until some downtrend structure gets created. Same thing with USD SEK. No trades last week. We're in a downtrend on the 4-hour and 1-hour charts. Like, it's pretty clear we're in a downtrend still. We're having a pullback right now. So I'm not looking to enter right this second, but if price starts creating some lower lows, lower highs, some downtrend structure, then I'll just look to get in on a sell on a pullback, probably like a break and retest of a horizontal zone. USD Chinese Yuan price has been in a downtrend forever. Same thing on the H4 and daily charts. So what the plan will be here is just wait to price to come to this resistance zone. And if it starts rejecting and forming some downtrend structure, I'll just wait for horizontal levels to get created and try to just find entries on sells. I have not taken any trades on this recently. This is all back testing. This is all just back testing for this system, that I've been doing the addition of better risk rewards and better entries into my trading system. So I didn't take any of these trades. This is all just like testing, demo testing. But the cool thing is that I found there was 27 losses, or it actually wasn't full losses. There's 27 trades that resulted in either a break-even stop out or a loss. And then there were only 3 trades that resulted in huge profit. And those 3 trades in profit minus the 27 units of loss resulted in a 197 R of gain. So if you risk if $1,000 per trade, even counting all the 27 losses, only winning 3 trades minus swaps and commissions, you would have made 197 grand. So that's pretty nuts. So, I mean, it just goes to show that like me trying to find better entries and stuff now in lower time frames while combining the overall higher time frame trends and analysis, you can sometimes just catch these big trends that you never could have predicted would happen. But by just finding an entry, scaling out partial profits and setting the stop to break even and just letting it run, you can get like 1 to 20, 1 to 30, 1 to 40 risk rewards sometimes. In this case, like 1 to 77, 1 to 50 right here, 1 to 80. And all these trades, they're just breaks and retests, right? Just breaks and retests during downtrends. That's all it is. Same thing in here. This was a break and retest right here. Again, I did not take any of these trades. The trades that I've taken, I've called live in Telegram, but this was just all back testing. This one was an example of like a break and retest on a lower time frame that ended up coming back to hit break even. This right here is an example of a lower time frame trade on like the minute 15, or like the minute 5 chart. That would have resulted in like a huge profit. And then of course all like just tons of like either break even trades or stop outs. So yeah, that happened anyway. So I'm looking to get into another sell right in here. I'm looking to see if it'll keep going down, because if this thing's going to continue its trend, I mean, it's just been murdering in a downtrend for like since May of last year. That's been like, it's been like what, like almost a year now. It's been like 8 months, whatever that is. So yeah, I am looking for sells here on USDCNH. Everything else, I don't see anything else that I really like. Gold, I think gold has had more than enough opportunities to try to go up right here, and it's still failing. If it were up to my judgment, I would say it's probably going to break this support, come and retest, and then you might see price fiddle around lower down here. Ultimately, I don't know long-term where gold's going to go. If you're really zooming out, it's in a huge uptrend, and it has been for the past 2 years, since 2018 where we put in the low. Yeah, I put in kind of a low here. Ended up going up into huge profits. So, I mean, that could have, if you were in a buy back in 2018, it would have worked out very well for you. Then we sort of had a peak occur right here back in summer, and then price just sort of started like going sideways. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you trade gold, have fun. I can't even trade it with OANDA. I'd have to open up another CoinEx account like I used to trade last year. But yeah, so do your own analysis on gold. Still long on Tesla. Michael Burry shorted right here. The one who shorted all like the housing market back in 07, 08. He shorted here, and that position's not doing the greatest. I'm still in all my buys on Tesla. The Tesla stock, just the stock going up, has paid for my Tesla. Like it's crazy. Like this. Let me see. Here, we'll go to portfolio. And where are we at right here? Tesla. So yeah, the total I put like in 8K as everything was crashing back in March of 2020, and then the total return's been like 40K. So it's like almost paid for the Tesla's like 38,500 plus tax and licensing fees and stuff. It's funny, the stock has paid for the car, so that's really cool. Another nice winner that I've had is Moderna. I'm waiting on price to get back up to here. Then I'm probably going to close my trade. This will be about a 3x ROI. I bought like somewhere down in here. I think it was somewhere in October. One of my clients told me. So that's been performing well. I had a pullback. Now it's starting to go back up. We'll see. It may not get back up there. Worst case scenario, if it comes back down around here, I'll probably close near my entry, make only a couple $1,000 profit, but that's it. So there's Apple that I'm in long term, Amazon that I'm in long term, Starbucks, a couple of speculative stops, Plug Power. Do your own research. I'm going to be buying 5K of it right here and 5K of it right here if it gets down here, as long as the fundamentals of the company doesn't change. Do your own analysis, but on Plug Power, I'm looking to get long. Just waiting on a pullback. It's had a huge impulse so far. I'm waiting for it to pull back about like 50%. If it pulls back right in here to this area, that'll be about like 50% of the run up since it ran up back in last year. So that's what I'm going to be waiting for. But I'm going to grab some right here and then also down here. It's a hot stock right now. Same thing with Blink Charging. Do your own research on this. I think the fundamentals are decent for this. I'm trying to get in. I'm just waiting on a better price. Same thing on Sunrun. I'm waiting on a better price on this right here. Probably going to wait for it to come even lower. Maybe like dip back down into here. I'll probably wait for something like that. Usually like 50% fib is what I like for stocks. If it just pulls back at least like halfway, 61.8 is fine as well. I like the fundamentals for Sunrun as well, and the same thing for NIO. So I'm waiting on this one to pull back a little bit more, then I'm probably going to get in. It's like small positions, probably like 5K risk each. So that way, if they don't do too well, it's only 5K. But if they do really well and they continue to just see exponential growth like Tesla did this year, it'll be like 5 to 10x ROIs. Like Tesla has like I think like 5x my capital or whatever, or quadrupled it, something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so that's all the trades I'm looking to take this week. These 2 GBP pairs, 2 Euro pairs, 2 AED pairs, 3 New Zealand dollar pairs, and 3 USD pairs. All the trades that I do take will be called in Telegram for free in real time. So just hit the link in the description of this video and do my free training. And then after you do my free training, you get a link to follow all my trades live for free in the free Telegram channel for as long as I continue to run the free Telegram channel. So I'll see you in there. Hit the link in the description and also hit the like button on the video if you did enjoy this video. Cheers, everyone. Bye.